But who was he aiming the actual message for? Like, who was it intended for?
It was intended for Stuart Robertson.
Oh, okay.
Do
Okay.
we know who Stuart Robertson is?
No idea. No
No
fucking clue.
idea.
No.
Just like
Well,
And whoever he was.
it was one of his his old high school acquaintances that you obviously friend on Facebook, and then they just like got into a political argument on Facebook, as one does,
right,
Yes.
right.
with
Yes.
high school acquaintances.
I mean, the excessive use of ellipses should have clued us in right away that he was clearly not in his right mind.
Well, I mean, I think what I was impressed by was that there were only two words that were in all caps lock.
True. True. And he had paragraphs. He had distinct and separate paragraphs, which is just an achievement, honestly.
So also spaces between the periods.
I know. I know. Yeah.
I don't know if that's like grammatically correct or not.
No. Well, and it takes effort too, because on most keyboards, when you hit period and hit the space, it reverts back to like the letters, and then you have to go back to the characters to hit period again sometimes. So it's just like,
what we're saying is that Phil Cerna took a lot of time and care into crafting this message, which, if you didn't see it, says, "You think I'm a Sacramento political hack, do you? How big are your balls, you coward? Run for office instead of opening your useless pie hole." And that, I think, is the cherry on the top.
I have never wanted to think about Phil Cerna's balls.
No.
And the thing that I think of is that he is telling all of us he has huge balls.
Huge.
And I then become concerned.
Like Lyndon Baines Johnson huge.
Just enormous balls.
You do not want to see him with gray sweatpants on. just hitting, just bobbing against his knees.
Just thighs just like dribbling the balls.
So I had a couple of thoughts about this. One, I think it's really interesting that like big balls are always used as like a euphemism for like bravery or like strength or something. As a man who is, what's today, the 8th, 4 days away from being 40, I have come to the conclusion that like your balls getting lower or being bigger just increases the chance that you're going to sit on them.
Yes.
Ouch.
Yeah. Yes, which hurts, as I have found out from riding a horse very recently, that sitting on your balls does indeed hurt. The second thought that I had is that it might be a little known fact that Phil Cerna is actually a bass player in a band.
Oh no, we've actually talked about this on the show.
Okay, perfect. And as a bass player in a band, I understand the importance of constantly making the declaration of how big your balls are, because no one cares about the bass player.
This is what's happening.
Yeah.
And also it's why you are always talking about your balls on Facebook.
It's true. Yeah, it's an inferiority complex. And I do have to consistently make sure that the world is aware, one, that I have balls, two, that they're gigantic, and three, they are the reason why I run for political office.
Yes.
I mean, here's the deal. We got it all figured out. And what we should probably do is just get really comfortable with Phil Cerna talking about his balls.
So, Shannon, you and I had a little conversation on the side the other day about the potential of you getting a Phil Cerna ball tattoo.
Wow, this is incredible. I quit the show is what is happening right now. I will not be on this program any longer. I will not be. Yes, we did have that conversation. I'm so grateful that you have brought it up.
I just think that Skylar set the bar really high.
Yeah.
By, like creating a precedent for like sticking to getting ridiculous tattoos on your thigh, specifically on your thigh.
You know,
so you can always look down at Phil Cerna's balls.
Yeah. I don't know what the thing would have to like, what is the bet, right? Because Skylar's bet was Donald Trump will never get charged with anything, period. And if he does, I will get Robert Mueller tattooed on my body.
What if it's like Phil ever running for an office that doesn't directly involve running on his dad's name recognition? Like any office that doesn't pull that along with it.
So if he actually does that, then I have to get a tattoo of.
Yeah. I mean, I think like a statewide office.
Yeah, and you that's like a pretty, like almost 100% chance that you'll never get that tattoo.
That's exactly what I said.
Which is probably the reason why I should take the bet. I don't know, man. Yeah. Here's the deal. Are we talking about getting what is the tattoo? Is the tattoo
I think it
squirrel
should
with the nuts?
Yes, with Phil Cerna's head.
Yeah, okay. God. Wow. I regret making that.
No, you don't.
I don't actually.
Classic media.
It was a good time. I regret it. I'll get back to everyone about that. Man, I don't know. I'm grateful for Phil Cerna's service to the community, but only the service that comes to the community through his bourbon fueled Facebook posts. I can only imagine this guy is like sitting at home drinking and just getting pissed. And then he's just like, here we go. Like he's using his like what's that? BlackBerry. He's got like a BlackBerry with the like QWERTY
full QWERTY
keyboard. Yep.
And I love that this was in context of like them having an argument about Palestine.
Oh yes, 100.
Like, because that I think is you know, I feel like there should be like a French term for like, oh, the creme de fucking resistance or whatever the fuck it is, like the cream on top. I don't think that's the right translation. Don't get at me, French people.
The creme de resistance, as the
French for me, French teachers.
Yeah. I know that there's a lot of them that listens to this. Is that he has to resort to, you know, like, I think that there's probably a logical fallacy, maybe not, but if there isn't, there should be, where you just resort to talking about the size of your testicles, like whatever that is, you know.
Like
ad testomenem.
Yes, there you go. That sounds right.
Yeah.
I'm only going to talk about the size of my testicles henceforth. So get ready for that, everyone, as we discuss the news of the day.
We promised ball content.
Yes.
Balls. The cat is currently making masa on my shoulder. Not anymore.
I saw the tail sticking out and I was like, that's not a scarf. That's a tail. It's moving independently.
Anyway, we should probably start the show. It's time to start the show.
Do it.
Perfect timing. Look at that.
1, 2. Voices, the things they said. Voices, some from those dead. All the voices heard. Voices, things we say. Voices, they're in your head. All the voices heard.
Hey everybody, it's me, Shannon.
Oh, it's me, Gabe.
Oh, it's me, PJ.
And here you are at voicesrivercity.com in your ear holes. We have, this is it. Like, this is the new, we are in our new hosts era. We are in our growing era, growing and changing.
We're getting pubes.
It's giving metamorphosis.
It is.
Kafka-esque, some would describe.
So good. It's giving metamorphosis. It's giving beauty. It's giving welcome to change. And we have so many things to talk about today, mostly having to do with how incredible our local elected official out of District 2 is. But before we get there, we would love if you went to patreon.com/voicesrivercity and supported us with a couple bucks. This is work that we love. It's cathartic and it's fun and it's a thing that we all look forward to every week, but also it is work. And we do have bills to pay, and we would love for you to help us pay them. That's it. I'm just gonna leave it there. You can also follow us on all the socials. Our username for everything is Voices River City. So I promise you'll find us if you just try.
Except on Truth Social. On Truth Social, we have a very different name.
And if
we won't tell
guess it, we will give you a koozie.
Koozie. It's koozie season. It is koozie season.
I just tried to adjust the glasses that are not on my face. So.
I didn't even notice.
So here we go. So since the last time we recorded, we have had the distinct honor and privilege of seeing the name Sean Laloe in headlines, in tweets about the news.
Play-by-play as federal agents descended on his facilities. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So Sean Laloe is the councilman out of District 2, which is North Sacramento. We'll just kind of leave it there. It is certainly, it's one of the districts that
deserves better.
Better 100. But it's like it's an underserved district. And when Sean Laloe got the seat, it just drove home that it would continue to be an underserved district because its councilperson is a horrible human being. So Sean made waves in the news early on in his councilship with some labor issues. He owns Viva Market.
Yes.
Markets. Yeah, I think it's
there's two of them, maybe.
I think there's 4.
There's 4. Cool.
Wow.
And these labor violations go all the way back to 2009. Like
long before Sean even maybe long before Sean even dreamt of being a local council person.
Maybe why he dreamt of it.
Yeah, why? It's why. Yeah, he was like, I'm clearly not very good at running supermarkets. Maybe I should represent the fine people of District 2 instead.
We've talked about this on the show. We've talked about Sean quite a bit on the show, but we talked about this issue with Viva Markets in particular before, and just like all of the bullshit that came after that. He essentially he's been it is alleged, trying to find the right language, that he has threatened workers with deportation by way of basically calling ICE if they didn't do the things that he wants them to do. And we have seen at council meetings and through social media, though not recently because he sort of changed his tune on social media, that he is incredibly antagonistic and does not shy away from making himself look like the complete ass that he is, because he in public approached the daughter of one of the workers who sued him at a North Sacramento chamber meeting, and it was caught on video.
Mm-hmm.
And that turned into a whole thing where he was approached by local community activists, as he says, and he was asked, like, what the fuck, and he just became even more irate and belligerent towards them. So this guy is super fucking cool.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
Great dude. And he's paid, so we can kind of move from the allegedly to the confirmed when it comes to these violations, because he has paid numerous back wages to employees, from 2009 pretty much to present day, has consistently been caught not paying overtime, underpaying wages, and participating in child labor violations.
And people were not given their meal or rest breaks.
Well, one of the descriptions that I found was by Maria Grijalva, who works for the Chicano Latino Caucus and LULAC, that she described it as falling into the human trafficking category as far as the way he treats his workers, including them reporting working up to 100 hours a week at a minimum wage without overtime, vacation time, sick leave, or workman's comp under different Social Security numbers assigned by Laloe and his general manager. Like, just aces really.
Incredible.
And then in 2020 he paid $35,423 in back wages, and you're like, okay, that's a pretty sizable chunk. I don't know how many employees that went to, but allegedly he coerced them into giving the money back.
Now, he also paid that $35,000 in back wages after, like, in the same year as receiving a $25,000 forgivable economic relief loan.
Yes.
That was coronavirus grant money. So he gets 25 grand, is ordered to pay 35 grand, and is then like, give me back my 35 grand because I need it back right now. I don't have enough money. I didn't just take a fucking economic relief loan.
I mean, to be fair, he does have 2 mortgages to pay.
That's true.
Heard. Also, in this same year, the year that he receives the loan and has to pay the back wages, he is elected into the council seat. So that's super cool. And then, like, 2 years after the economic relief loan is granted, the Department of Labor sues Laloe, saying that's when they say, like, there are allegations that he's threatened to deport his employees, who he had threatened to deport employees who participated in federal investigations that were ongoing in his stores, and then more of the same, underpaying employees, employing minors, interfering with investigations.
The amount of times that Sean Laloy must sit on his own balls must be astounding.
A lot of times.
A lot of times. Like to be in the middle of a federal investigation against you where the folks who are going to be participating and cooperating with federal fucking agents are undocumented, and you're gonna, while this is happening, make threats against them to have them deported, tell them to give you back the money that you had to pay them in back wages, and then illegally employ their children. I can't.
It's incredible.
Like, he's a Batman villain, like a bad Batman villain, like really bad at it. Like
and also like the sitting on his balls situation that must occur multiple times a day has not stopped him from just showing his ass even more. Like he has, so he's got all this shit that goes down in 2009. Federal investigators are like, yo, you and your companies are in violation of federal labor law. And then in 2018 there's the lawsuit, and then in 2020 we've got, you know, the having to pay the back wages. And then he's like, he gets elected and gets sworn into office in what appears to be a very swanky home with a giant like marble fireplace. And during this time it comes out, like, the media is like, wait a minute, where does Sean Laloy actually live? And as it turns out, he is never really ever seen at the house that he claims to live at, which is on Nogales in North Sacramento. But his wife happens to own a multi-million-dollar home in Granite Bay. Interesting, because he also was sworn in at a house that appears to be a multi-million-dollar. You know, he just like the
cojones.
Like the cojones have really created an audacious human being
or
that
bodacious.
Just won't quit.
Yeah.
Say that. So we're so used to seeing this guy's name in the headlines, right? Because of all this like grocery store stuff, and you know, the lawsuit with his employees. And then comes the time when the media is like, wait a minute. To be clear, when we say the media, we mean the Sacramento T Clift is like, yo, hey, Sean, do you actually live where you say you live?
Your neighbors say they've never seen you, and there's a bunch of cars sitting on your lawn, and there have been parties and police visits, and they didn't say that they found you there ever, and so we're just kind of confused. And the city's like, we're going to look into that. And they're just like, well, he said he lives there, so that's good, right?
And the other people who live there also confirmed that he lives there.
He definitely lives there. He's never been there when people are looking for him, but he lives there.
Yes. Yeah, he comes in real late, sleeps a little bit on the floor, and there's of course no way, and more information about the people who do live at that house. Very likely, people that Sean employs at the Viva markets.
So he said at one point that he was letting. This is so good. That he was allowing his employee to live with him. And it's like, well, obviously, you know, this guy like really gives a shit about his employees.
Really?
Because he's underpaid them, hasn't given them meal breaks, and has said that he's going to ensure that they are deported. But, you know, when they become housing insecure, the first guy that's like, no, please come to me.
Let's bunk up.
It's hashtag believable.
Hashtag altruistic Sean Laloe really cares about the human experience.
That's how concerned he is about unhoused folks. So he just wants to make sure that everyone has a home to live in, and it's his.
Right. Yeah. Right. He's like, you think that I'm a Sacramento political hack? Open up your house. show me.
Open up your house and show me your balls.
And he, like the rest of city council, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that even Steinberg at one point like has asked or called for his resignation. And I have yet to figure out who is publicly defending Sean Laloe in the comment sections, because there's always someone.
I don't think that the council has called for his resignation, but the Central Labor Council just called for his resignation as a result of the most recent federal investigation, which on October 26th shut down two of his supermarkets. And he was nowhere to be found. But
well, he does have some staunch defenders, a group of District 2 Woodlake folks who have a Facebook group where they organize in support of him, or did at least when he was still doing their business for him.
Yeah, I think, I think if we were able to like get into like the inside information of those council folks, we would learn that many of them would love to see him not be on the council, because he is an absolute just I don't even have like a way to say how bad he is on the council. Like the questions that he asks when he'll like ask a question like, oh wait, what part of the meeting are we in? Or like, he'll like ask a question that was just answered like 2 seconds ago. This guy,
or he'll contradict himself. Like moments after saying something, he'll say something different.
But they can't. But if anyone's gonna try to get to 5 votes, they gotta like not shit on their colleague directly.
I mean, I guess it's hard for him to stay focused when you have, several federal investigations
and the balls.
He's sitting on his balls. He's sitting on his balls for the entirety of these meetings. That's a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't know what that feels like, but it seems like it would not be comfortable. What is great is, so all of this shit is true about Sean Laloe, and then so that like we're talking 2008 to October 26th, right? And this whole thing with like the feds shutting down his stores was like, those of us who love to have this piping hot tea are just like on the edge of our seats, just like what is going to come next, because we've been waiting for this motherfucker to get caught up, right? And just when you think it is impossible for this guy to fuck up even harder, on November 2nd, we find out there's a headline that is, embattled Sacramento councilman recently evicted 8 households, property manager says. So this is in the Sacramento Bee. It's a piece written by the Sacramento Tea, Teresa Clift and Philip Reese, letting us know that there's more. There is more on Sean Laloe, that he bought an apartment building in Hagenwood apartment building, which he purchased last year. He was then like, hey, all of you folks who live in this apartment building, you gotta get out, you're evicted.
Little skedaddle.
It's interesting that he didn't then open up the front door of his Nogales home, where he had previously allowed folks who were experiencing housing insecurity to live.
That is surprising.
I mean, that might come out later. He might actually open the doors to his home, and we will find all of the tenants that he evicted living securely in the cars parked in the front yard.
Exactly.
Because there are so many of them.
You were looking for the safe ground in my council district. The safe ground was my home.
Maybe my home was the safe ground we were looking for all the time.
Embattled councilman changes reputation by informing the community that safe ground has always been his home.
It's really about the safe grounds that we built along the way.
Exactly.
It really is. Yeah. Yes, indeed. So this guy, he has an LLC. He is the CEO of an LLC that has purchased this apartment building at 2 apartment complexes at 800 and 830 Lampasas Avenue. Purchased them in August of 22. And it is said that sometime in late 22 or 23, the 8 units, the tenants of the 8 units were informed that they needed to leave. This is during a time when we have at council seen many conversations and many heated conversations around tenant protections, right? Like,
yeah. And that was right around the time that the eviction moratorium ended as well, I believe.
Yes, the eviction moratorium that was set in place as a result of the pandemic was coming to its tail end, right? Like, so the council has been trying to really like control the number of eviction of like, what is it called? Like just cause evictions, because of the housing crisis, because of the crisis of homelessness. And in like late 2019 or early 2020, there was the tenant protection program was passed by the council. And this councilman evicted people without just cause.
And didn't even do the paperwork he's supposed to do, which is like if you're going to do repairs or upgrades or that sort of thing, you're supposed to include with the permit the filing of the termination of their tenancy. And he didn't do any of that either. So it's like he can't even follow the rules that were made by him ostensibly.
Oh, and I can almost guarantee that there is no actual renovation that's happening at this place.
Coat of paint, new carpet, maybe.
Yeah, right. Like he might have painted over a child that he formerly employed at Viva Market into the wall, and left
the kid.
It's just like, stuck there. But you know, this is like a very widely used tactic by a lot of landlords who own apartment buildings or multi family dwellings, is that they'll, you know, give a 30-day or 60-day or 90-day, depending on which city they're in, notice to the tenants and say that we're going to do some renovations, you know, and then do something like fucking coat of paint, you know, maybe they change out like a sink in the bathroom, and then they get someone else for 40-50% higher, depending on the rent control measures that are in this state or in the city. But which is why there is so many obstacles put in place to stop them from doing that, is because like this isn't new, like it's not a new tactic, like, and again, just the sheer creme de resistance to him, just like I just like can't. I think that we saw the tweet while we were in Mexico about this, and and it was like, how? Like, I almost have to give the guy like a round of applause of just being like, you really can't, like, maybe he's made a deal with some kind of demon where like he just has to keep fucking over people, or like he immediately gets dragged down to hell like that.
I think it's possible that he made a bet with someone about a tattoo, and if he is not in the headlines for violating any number of rules, regulations, or laws, he would have to get
Ruth Bader Ginsburg's vulva on his forehead.
Oh, I was thinking Daryl's head on his head.
On his
head.
You know, if you know what I mean.
His little Aloe.
Little Louie.
As the missus calls it.
Yeah, I don't know. It is incredible. And like every time I scroll through Twitter, I'm just like, which is, you know, I gotta say it's not as often as it once was, but I'm just like, what like fuckery is Sean gonna be up to today? You remember there was a time when he was blocking people from his elected page. I was one of the lucky blocked folks.
Aww.
And then when it like came out that he you know, was violating rules, he quickly made sure that everyone was unblocked from his Twitter account. And he was like super antagonistic, just like tweeting bullshit at people. This guy I don't think that he has ever experienced a consequence.
No.
Mm-mm.
What's weird is that I feel like most people in his position are probably better at scamming people. Like, it just feels like he's just not really good at it because he keeps getting caught. Because we know that a lot of like capitalists do this sort of thing and they get away with it, but you just have to pay off the right people or just something he hasn't quite, you know, honed in on that technique.
He's got he has the confidence of a well-tuned capitalist, but has yet to figure out how to stay under the radar in the same way that they do. I mean, I think one of the ways he could have stayed under the radar was like maybe not running for elected office.
I mean, yeah.
At least for like another 10 years, you know,
can you imagine like being that person who's like, I do all of these things and gosh, you know, it's not enough. I'm going to go ahead and run. I'm going to run for elected office while I'm totally like violating multiple federal labor codes. Like,
I think I figured it out. I think it's a kink.
Oh God. And you know what? It's really hard. I don't want to kink.
Are we kink shaming? Oh my gosh. I am so sorry.
This is between him and his Granite Bay house owning wife. That they were like, they just got to a point where absolutely nothing aroused them anymore. And they were like, we have to fucking be in the middle of like, the only thing that's going to get me off with these gigantic balls is being embroiled in several federal investigations and lawsuits and running for office.
Yes.
I've heard that it's really good for a marriage, for there to be multiple like municipal authorities coming after you at once. Like,
oh man.
It's like that level of stress is just like fucking G-spot.
Yeah, it's like nipple twisting, getting choked while you got your thumb up the butt all at the same time. Yeah. And you know, if Sean is listening to this episode, I will say now, because we figured it out, Sean, I see you. And I understand the difficulty when you are of the age that you are now, and that you've been desensitized by just the sheer fuckery of hurting people all your life and nothing really does it for you anymore. I get it. Get it now.
It's, you know, really on this show, what we aim for every time we hit record is to ensure that the people in positions of power are really seen and heard. And and you know, we are, as we said, in our growing and changing era, and that's just it's part of who we are now. So
we are your voice. Don't forget it.
Sean.
You
are seen.
We see you. We hear you.
You no longer have to hide in the shadows. You and little Aloe can come out.
Come out. Come on out. And bring the balls with you.
And the cars. Bring
also
all the cars.
Don't forget the cars and the multiple houses and, you know, all the kids you're making.
So security cards, just everything.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I guess this is one of those like wait and see what happens.
But apparently he also privately / maybe like not so privately confided into Angelique Ashby that he will not be running for re-election.
I am going to venture to say that anyone who has ever spoken to Angelique Ashby is doing so because they are hoping that it is not a private
100%
interaction. Like it's what that is the thing that so in the midst of all of this fucking shenanigans, there is a piece that comes out that's like District 2 council member or Councilman Sean Laloe is not running for office. And I clicked on that and was like, or not running for re-election. I clicked on that and was like, holy shit, like he's issued a statement is what I'm thinking. And you scroll down and it's like, according to Senator Angelique Ashby, Sean Laloe is not running for re-election. The re-election for District 2 is coming up in November. Right? Yeah. So of 2024, because the seat comes up in December of 24. So do you think that Sean is like sitting in his Nogales house, just like etching into the wall how many days are left of his seat in public office? Or is he like super into it? He just like loves it and is really sad that December 2024 is only a year away.
I mean, you said etching, but I almost thought you said edging, and I think that it could be the latter.
And it is definitely edging.
Yes.
I mean, I can't
just knock before you go into that office, please.
Right. Sock on the door handle type situation. For someone who clearly, I think, like, all jokes aside, he's got to get some kind of like rush from doing this shit, because he like physically, he just can't stop himself. Like he's incapable of stopping himself. So I think that he like is kind of like exhausted. He's like, oh well, I fucking like, I might not. Hey, Angelique, I might not run again. But at the same time, he's he really does like it.
Gagging himself while he says that.
Yeah.
I think he does. There really isn't like, this is a thing that we have thought a lot about, like Sean and all of his misdeeds, and he has to enjoy this. Otherwise,
I just think he thought it was going to be more productive. I think he thought he might have some say over the lawsuits and everything that was going on, and maybe as a higher profile person, he'd have a better chance of getting out of it. And it just never came up that way. And so he just felt like, screw it. I tried that. I'll just go back. I just won't try it again. This is too much hassle. These are too much drama to deal with all this stuff and be so public with it all.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely not enjoying being in public office. Like he doesn't love when people ask him questions. He looks miserable.
Do you think he's going to list the house before his final day in the office, or you think it's going to be listed like a month before?
Man, see, these are some bets that should be made with tattooing balls on one's thigh. So this is like, if you go to patreon.com/voicesrivercity and pledge to get a tattoo on your thigh, if that's like the next thing we're gonna be serving. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm excited to see what's next for Sean. And truly, jokes aside, these are like really fucking shitty things, so much so that I think we mentioned it a bit ago, that the Central Labor council leader called for Sean to resign from city council. This was, I don't remember if that was on the same day as the feds.
If not, it was like within a day or two, I believe.
Yeah. It was shortly after the stores were shut down because the feds were just looking through some things. And that that's like, it's a big deal. The call for him to resign was also sent to all of his colleagues, and I thought that the council meeting after that was going to be just incredible. Like I was ready for like a Jerry Springer style, like something
where they just like ring the bell and then they just go at each other,
they just
launching themselves over it.
But Sean showed up and was very much like, I'm here to do my job, and I'm going to keep doing my job. Like, you can't touch me, which is
truly dedicated dedicated public servant. Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I used to live in District 2, but it was before Sean Laloe's reign. And like you said, Shannon, this is like it is a historically underserved community, and I think that having such a opportunistically criminal-minded representative is so unfortunate for the folks of District 2.
Yeah.
That this is the person who's meant to be their advocate on council, and is meant to be their voice and to represent their interests, and is like literally represents the worst parts of Sacramento. Like, he's a shitty landlord, he's an exploitative boss, he's a fucking crass and rude individual. He's misogynistic, like he is unethical, like every negative adjective that you can apply to any number of our council members, like he's all of them in one. And I like, it's just, for the people of District 2, December of 2024 can't come soon enough, if he stays, if he doesn't resign.
Yeah, I think, like, there's a lot. I was going to say what's incredibly rough about him as a leader in that district, but there's all of the things. But he has done something where he has used his position in office to amplify the voice of the privileged few in his district, the folks who are like anti-homeless, pro-cop, anti-renter, affordable housing can go. I mean, Sean has said publicly that he does not want affordable housing. Like, affordable housing is a no-go for him, right? Because he does the thing where he equates affordable housing with poverty, and poverty with criminal behavior. And this is a community full of people who are treated poorly by cops, by privileged neighbors, they're stereotyped, they're, in terms, there's like food desert situations, there's like all of this shit, and he he has made sure that the comfort of the privileged few is the most important thing. And he's a public safety candidate, right? Public safety being cuffs.
Oh yeah, he's licked boots multiple times.
Yeah.
And like, how laughable is it that someone in his position can make that association between poverty and criminality when he literally is a fucking criminal? Like, he's literally a criminal, and he owns multiple houses, an apartment complex, and 4 supermarkets in which he consistently violates the law pretty much daily, and then has the audacity to accuse people who are poor of being criminals.
It's because people who are poor are undeserving of all of the things, right? Like, he is that person. Like, if
well,
you're
at the end of the day,
poor,
instead of seeing them as needing more support, as being historically disenfranchised from all of these levels of services, instead of thinking that, he's like, so they're the issue. So if I can just get them out of here, then we can move better people in. And it's like, no. You can make this so much better for these people, improve the entire district as a whole, and bring them along with you. But you just are just like, nah, easy solution. Thanks, though.
Yeah. It's that district deserves a better representative, and it's super likely that Roger Dickinson is running for District 2. It's like pretty likely that he'll win. He's got name recognition, right? And is that the only District 2 candidate right now that we're aware of?
No, there's Alicia Bledsoe and Kim Davey are the ones that I have.
Okay. Well, I mean, let's be real about what, Yeah,
he definitely has name recognition. And unfortunately, he's more progressive from my understanding.
Yeah.
What's the background on Bledsoe? I know that I think Hansen supports her.
Ooh, that's not this. Oh, let's get rid of that right away.
So that's great.
That's great news.
Great Davey is a retired vice principal for Grant Union High School.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have like a Voices voter guide as we get closer.
For sure. Yeah.
And go over all these candidates. But yeah, another day in the news cycle that is Sacramento City Councilman Sean Laloe. That's so good. I don't know. I mean, I think that it would be just a real shame if people felt the need to show up and remind Sean that we see him for all that he is, show up to council meetings. And it would suck if you tweeted at him and sent letters to him and his colleagues. I mean, I feel like there are better uses of people's time. And we would never want to lead people astray.
No.
To, remind Sean that he is a terrible human being.
Yeah.
But
it's that holiday. It's the holiday season. Get into that giving spirit. Give it. It's giving evolution.
Yeah. Well, what a time to be alive. I mean, the great thing about all of this is that you never know what headline is coming next. And you can spend countless hours dreaming up all of the various headlines that might come next.
Yeah, I actually was pretty surprised given how difficult it seemed to be for local politicians to not share their terrible views about what is currently happening in Gaza, that Sean did not jump on the train, at least that I'm aware of. And I could be wrong.
I didn't see anything.
So, I mean, like, I was waiting for some like incredibly terrible hot take from him. But I also think that he like legitimately doesn't give a shit about anything that's happening outside of his world. And by his world, I mean like not even his district, like physically his world, like his house, his apartment complex, the things that he directly can control and impact him. But yeah, I'm actually thankful, Sean, that you kept your mouth shut on that particular issue.
It's the one thing that we're grateful for, Sean.
Thank you for not adding to the garbage pile of opinions that people have felt they needed to share.
Sean, thank you so much for your service. We appreciate you this one time.
If you're still listening, Sean, I will say that one, thank you for sticking through this whole time. Also, good job, little Loey. Good job.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know what else there is to say about Sean except that we can't wait until December of 2024 when we don't have to no, I was gonna say like when we don't have to worry about what the next headline is, but I'll still be interested in the headlines. It'll just be for different reasons because I've been previously invested, I guess.
Didn't he like personally attack Teresa Clift when she like tried to talk? Yeah, like numerous times.
He tore into her, like blamed homelessness on her.
Right.
Like she's the one causing it by continuing to ask all these questions of him.
Mm-hmm.
She also has blood on her hands.
Yes, that was it. That I can't like what was it that he what was he blaming her for when he said that?
Yeah,
it's just hilarious.
It was during the whole Camp Resolution, like the height of the Camp Resolution stuff, which is Camp Resolution is a self-governed space where unhoused folks can live in community, and it happens to be in Sean's district, and Teresa was out there. There was a lot. I mean, we talked a lot about it on the show, but there was a lot of back and forth, and a lot of shit went down before Camp Res was allowed to stay where they are, and Sean did not like that Teresa was on him about it. So like that's like the thing, right? It's the way he deals with conflict is by being a shit ass. Just, getting more and more agitated. So, let's all get agitated and I don't know.
Act as if you just sat on your balls.
Yes.
About Sean.
Let us all sit upon our balls.
Get into that mindset.
Yeah. Well, I guess we should actually end the show and move on, to the next part of our lives, which is just thinking about Sean's balls.
Sean and Phil's balls
Phil.
together.
Phil's balls.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe
they're going to start a podcast.
I will probably have dreams about them rubbing their balls together.
May their balls be with you all.
May the balls be with you.
May the balls be with you. Good luck and good morning or evening or whenever it is that you're listening to this show. Our being in our metamorphosis era is giving.
It's giving.
It's giving balls.
Giving
all right, y'all.
Ball sweat.
On with the ball sweat. We'll catch you at our next episode, which is coming to your ear holes soon.
1, 2.